And welcome to the January 27th, 2025 council meeting, Salinas City Council meeting. I call the meeting to order. This meeting is available in Spanish for members of the public in attendance and on Zoom, and translation advices can be obtained in the foyer.
Buenas tardes, esta reunión está disponible en español para los miembros del público y en Zoom. Las unidades de traducción se pueden obtener en la entrada de la rotonda.
Okay, and Zoom webinar participation is available for members of the public. The Zoom webinar ID and link are available on the posted agenda. And with that, will everyone stand and please join me in the pledge? Thank you. All right, Patty, you're up.
Thank you, Mayor. Councilmember Barajas?
Here.
Councilmember Barrera?
Here.
Councilmember D'Arrigo?
Present.
Councilmember De La Rosa?
Here.
Councilmember Salazar?
Here.
Councilmember Sandoval?
Here.
Mayor Donahue?
Present.
Thank you.
All right. And I am looking for a wayward fire chief, which never happens. Okay. That may be. All right. Well, we'll work him in if he probably thought he had 5 minutes, so we'll want to just proceed to the.
We have a 10-minute.
Yeah, we have to wait until 4:10.
Mayor? All right, visit amongst yourselves. Yes.
There he is.
Yep, there he is.
Well, I have a resident here that wasn't aware that the agenda changed. If we had a couple minutes, maybe he could make public comment, Mr. Bricker. I don't know if that's a possibility.
Okay. Well, according to the city attorney, we have to stick to the official agenda, which was, I think public comment has typically been starting at 5 o'clock.
So we have, the fire chief is here now.
Right.
So I would suggest that we move to that nomination.
Okay.
And we move to the study session, which is starting at 4:10,
Okay,
and then we get to the other items.
okay, sounds good. All right. All right, Chief, you're here.
I am.
You are up.
Apologies, but our honoree actually is out running a call and will not be
Well,
here.
I did notice some sirens on the way over, so.
But I just wanted to recognize, every year, the Salinas Fire Department recognizes one of our members as nominated by their peers for being our firefighter of the year, someone that sort of stands above, goes above and beyond. And this year's honoree was nominated by several of his peers, and we named him our Salinas Firefighter of the Year as Engineer Paramedic Ryan McCoubry. And we have put his name also in for the county consideration as our County Firefighter of the Year, which should be named here in a couple weeks. So we have our fingers crossed for him, but we appreciate his service, and he is the epitome of what is a Salinas firefighter. He's involved in so many things. I can't stand here and just rattle him off because we'll be here half the night, but we appreciate his service, and thank you for the commendation.
Okay, thank you. So he's not here. So I think, Chief, with since he's not here, we won't do the official photo since we'll pass on that. So, okay, but thank you, and please, when he gets a chance, we'll see if we can get him in chambers. Absolutely. Okay, thanks, Chief. All right, with that, we will proceed to I can do a really long 5-minute introduction, or we can have a moment of silence. Okay, very good. Okay. So now visit amongst yourselves. All right, we are back in business. So Ms. Brinton, if you would make your way to the podium, we will have you provide us an update of the general plan and economic development element. Oops, not you. Okay.
Can't hear you, Mayor.
Mic's on.
Step up to the mic, I guess.
All right, good evening, everyone. Can you hear me all right? Awesome. All right, I think we're ready to roll. Thank you for the opportunity to present tonight. I'm Jonathan Moore, Senior Planner with the Advanced Planning Division, Advanced Planning and Project Implementation Division of Community Development. And we have two broad topics tonight to discuss: an overview of the general plan update process, including where we've been and where we're going, and a closer look at the economic development element more specifically. So we are updating our general plan under the banner of Visión Salinas 2040. Visión Salinas 2040 also includes a climate action plan and an eventual update to our zoning code. And the general plan is the city's guiding policy document and vision for future development. General plans really kind of started as that, a plan for where future businesses, housing, and roads would go. And over time, general plans have gotten significantly more complex. General plans in California have 8 required elements: land use, housing, circulation, open space, conservation, safety, noise, and environmental justice. We also have 2 voluntary elements: community design and economic development. The environmental justice element requirement is new, so it's the first time we're preparing one of those. And most of these existing elements have only seen minor updates since 2002. The economic development element, or EDE, is actually our newest whole element, formally adopted in 2017, though most of its content was also adopted as or accepted as a strategic planning document in 2014. There have obviously been a lot of changes in the community and in state law since 2002, so we're addressing that with this effort. The general plan, it's a guiding document, it's a legal requirement, but what's actually in there and how does that get brought into reality? The general plan is comprised of maps, figures, goals, policies, and actions, implemented through a combination of ordinance changes, development review, projects and programs, and collaboration. One of the primary implementation tools is the zoning code, which takes the high-level land use plan and turns that into specific things for heights, setbacks, specific uses, et cetera. And the general plan is also used to create findings for development. So does a proposed project downtown meet general plan policies for creating a vibrant city center, for example? General plan actions might also call for specific projects like a new park or a library, or programs like those supporting affordable housing. Many projects or programs require collaboration with other partners. This could be outside agencies like the County of Monterey, MST, or the private development community. And we're not creating this update from scratch. So the city and the local agencies have done a lot of planning work, especially in the last decade, and the EDE itself was intended as a foundational document for a new general plan. And this update's taken a little longer than anticipated to get here, but the 2017 EDE policies are woven throughout the draft general plan. It's influenced a lot of aspects of plan development. There's also the downtown vibrancy plan, which we've seen a lot of projects from recently. And in 2017, the city launched the original Visión Salinas effort to manage engagement for concurrent planning efforts and to develop guiding principles for the general plan update itself. Plans under the Visión Salinas umbrella included the Parks, Rec, and Libraries Master Plan, Alisar Vibrancy Plan, and Chinatown Revitalization Plan. There's a lot more plans too. We've counted over 30 documents that we've discussed or elevated materials from in the draft update. This includes the 2 recent specific plans for the North of Borunda Future Growth Area, the West and Central Area specific plans, transportation plans for safer streets, better transit service. We already adopted a recent housing element update in December of 2023 because housing elements are on their own unique 8-year cycle. And the challenge we're facing with this update is elevating, summarizing, and combining the priorities of all these plans and responding to state requirements and the vision of the community. To tell a more connected story about our future, we're organizing the general plan elements in 3 pillars. In built environment, we have land use, housing, circulation, noise, and community design. In environment and sustainability, we cover conservation and environmental safety and open space. And finally, in socioeconomic systems, we have health and environmental justice, public safety, economic development, and another new element, arts, culture, and youth. Now, developing this plan with the community is very important to us. We started this process in 2021. We've navigated the ups and downs of COVID. We've used in-person and digital tools. We're still going, and we're still continuously learning and trying to improve the reach and quality of our engagement. There's a community steering committee which guides this process and reviews content, which 2 current council members served on. We've had over 20 workshops, convened topic-specific working groups, and brought content to numerous events and locations around the city through pop-ups. The steering committee also had residents appointed by City Council, agency representatives, and other stakeholders. We had a grant that allowed us to hire the Center for Community Advocacy to increase our grassroots outreach, including doing house meetings and even going out into the fields. We've had meetings and materials available in both English and Spanish, and we were even able to offer Mixteco interpretation at a housing element workshop, which we believe was the first in the city. It's still very much an ongoing process as well, with time left for people to give input. And attachment 2 of the staff report is a more detailed summary of this engagement. Looking at our timeline, as mentioned, we officially launched the general plan update in the spring of 2021 with the formation of the steering committee and had 7 land use workshops and a community resource fair in the late summer and fall. We did a lot of engagement in 2022, including our working group meetings for each pillar and many workshops. 2023 was really focused on the housing element to get adopted by the statutory deadline of December of that year. A lot of staff time and engagement effort went into completing the first 6-cycle housing element adopted and deemed an HCD compliance in Monterey County. That year, we also completed a notice of preparation and scoping meeting for the environmental impact report for the general plan and CAP. Last year, we did more targeted engagement and received more of the technical data needed to move forward. We also completed 2 administrative drafts of the general plan itself. We've done a lot of the actual writing in-house and had it reviewed by outside legal counsel. And those are both a bit unorthodox, but I think it helps with transparency, connecting the plan with engagement we've done, and of course, the legal review at this point helps with ensuring compliance. We've also started a procurement process for the zoning code update consultant. And in early February, we'll conduct interviews and make a selection, and that contract will go to council for approval. We recently turned over most of our administrative draft of the general plan to our consultants to create a public review draft. We haven't sent over the economic development element in order to incorporate feedback from this meeting. And we're planning on doing another study session before we release the public review draft to go over the big highlights and major changes. We'll have another big round of engagement in the spring and summer, and we'll release a formal draft environmental impact report, which will have a mandatory 45-day comment period. Depending how long revisions take from that, the comments we receive will start the approval process in Q4. And the Monterey County Airport Land Use Commission, our Planning Commission, and of course City Council are all mandatory bodies in that process, but we'll also take it to Traffic and Transportation and other bodies as desired for outreach purposes. We've been committed to keeping council updated throughout this process with quarterly presentations or memos. We also started a series of these study sessions last year. Past studies sessions included the land use and circulation elements, environmental justice and public safety elements. Agenda packages were linked in the staff report, and presentations are on the YouTube on their respective council dates. Tonight we're discussing the economic development element, and before we dive into what we're proposing now, it's good to take a look back at the 2017 version and also our economic development engagement efforts to get to this process. So the 2017 element viewed economic development as something fundamental to the prosperity of the community. And it saw the combination of safety, jobs, and health as central to that vision. It went beyond generating jobs and revenue and also looked at quality of life and related topics. It was the first time that community health was significantly addressed in the general plan, for example. And one of its other significant focuses was land use. It looked at the relative strengths of different parts of Salinas and mapped these out in opportunity areas throughout the city. These helped influence land use planning and the development of our place type designations in the draft land use element. And economic development has also been discussed throughout the Visión Salinas 2040 engagement process. It was a topic of socioeconomic systems working group meetings and of steering committee meetings where they review draft EDE policy. We also created a technical advisory committee to assist with a grant-funded ag economic study. This study was included as an attachment and includes recommendations that were not only included or incorporated into the economic development element, but also other elements, land use, circulation, and others. And in November of this last year, the city manager convened a meeting with business organizations to not only discuss draft policy, programs, and the challenges we currently face, but also to start an ongoing dialogue. And a summary of that meeting is attached as well, and this group will reconvene on February 14th. Through all of these avenues, we've heard some recurring themes. We need to keep and build our agricultural base while encouraging related and new industries. We have to work on our internal culture and procedures to make it easier to open, operate, and expand a business in Salinas. We know people want pathways to better educational and career opportunities, and we have a lot of culture and history to build on. We need public and private investment in TLC in our shopping and destination areas. So to note, the 2017 EDE is still the backbone of this draft economic development update, but because Visión Salinas 2040 is a comprehensive overhaul of the general plan, significant portions of the 2017 version have been shifted to more topic-aligned elements, land use to land use element, transportation to the circulation element, so on. So the draft economic development goals, policies, and actions in the attachments are the remaining 2017 priorities updated to reflect recent studies and community development or community engagement. We'd like your feedback and discussion of the draft goals and policies for this EDE, and there are a lot of items in here, so I'll give the broad highlights of the 5 goals, and then we can discuss specific actions in greater detail after the presentation as necessary. So our first goal is cultivate a diverse and adaptive economy that aligns with future economic trends, reinforces Salinas' leadership in the agricultural industry. Policies and actions in here include identifying opportunities for attracting new businesses on or adjacent to the agricultural supply chain, building our ag tech and high-tech sectors, and demonstrating Salinas as a place for innovation. Goal 2 is encourage a thriving business environment through supporting startups, growing current businesses, and attracting new investments to build a dynamic landscape in Salinas with higher-paying employment opportunities. Policies and actions in here include developing a business retention program, streamlining processes, and as well as promoting entrepreneurship and expansion and working on access to capital. Goal 3, narrow social and economic disparities in the city through workforce development and community support. This goal is about increasing access and completion of education and training. This could be through college, vocational routes, programs like those at Digital Nest or Rancho Cielo. It's also about creating wider access to economic opportunities to disadvantaged or marginalized populations. Goal 4 is to enhance retail, entertainment, and tourism opportunities throughout the city. We have great neighborhoods here. We have culture. We have public art. Let's use those to promote Salinas as a destination for tourism and shopping. Finally, Goal 5, coordinate public and private investment along disinvested commercial corridors. This includes actions like facade grant programs, supporting businesses with city code and ADA compliance, creating district identity guidelines, and finding revenue streams to support consistent corridor maintenance. So that concludes the presentation. Just to reiterate some of our next steps, we're working on a public review draft, and we'll present again before we release that. We're also working on our state general plan annual progress report, and we're currently working to procure a zoning code consultant. So thank you, and I'll turn it back over to you all.
Okay, thank you. All right. Councilmember Diorigo, any questions? We'll start with you.
Too many to address tonight, but I have your email now, so that's good. I was kind of curious who was on the steering committee for the Visión 2040. I don't know if you have a list of those, or if you could get that to me.
Yeah,
I'd like to
we can get a
know
list
who's been involved in the
attendance,
past. A lot of great information. Obviously, bold goals, and I'm wondering what strategies you have to go with those goals, because they're. I think I agree with all of them. I think they're really important. It's a matter of how we get to them and how we make progress and move things forward. So I'm curious to see a little more detail on what strategic steps we're taking to make sure that those goals are accomplished.
Sure, and just the general format of these elements and it goes goals, policies, and actions. So hopefully, in most cases, it funnels from the goal, which is the very broad you know, thing, down to actions, which can be as specific as the next steps to create business retention program, do this project. So that's the action part of the general plan.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Margaret. Gloria?
Well, I'll echo what Margaret just said too. Great information. And who was part of the steering committee?
Sure, well, happy to send out our list or even some of the minutes from the meetings. They can have the whole list. I don't have the names memorized off the top of my head, but the council, which obviously has changed some, had appointees, so there's supposed to be an appointee from each district, a resident who lived in that district. There were agencies, representatives from like MST, and we've invited business leaders like from SUBA, and did try to do a wide net to capture more of the stakeholders and people in the community, community-based organizations, things like that. So it was trying to be more of that community representing body.
Okay, that's my only question. Thank you.
Okay. Councilmember Salazar.
Thank you. General plan, oh, fun stuff. In terms of economic development, what I really want to get my head wrapped around is the part regarding the stakeholder engagement, right? So as I think of the city of Salinas, there's kind of 5 areas that I'm thinking about and would really want to know what their input was. So when I think about like North Salinas, when I think about our merchants up at Northridge Mall and Hardin Plaza, really be interested in knowing and hearing maybe with a little bit more detail how they're affected and what we can do to support economic development. In terms of like West Salinas, I typically think of kind of West Alisal, west of Salinas. We've got a small merchant area over there. Davis Road, I kind of throw Davis Road. All of our merchants along Davis Road, including our local auto mall. East Salinas, to find information regarding East Salinas and the engagement there, specifically, getting that input from our SUBA merchants. And I don't know if that could be broken down further in terms of what the economic development kind of needs assessment is regarding those merchants on Sanborn Road, Market, East Alisal. In terms of South Salinas, just would like to see what the city might be able to do to continue to support economic development in South Salinas. We have quite a number of merchants on South Main Street, a lot of retail space for merchants. Do see a lot of small business owners in that area. And then lastly, I think a lot of us can see in terms of economic development what we've been able to do with our downtown Salinas area, or as many of us now know it, the city center. My grandfather often referred to it as El Centro, right? I know a lot of us continue to identify it as downtown or the city center. So really we'd like to continue to receive some more additional information regarding like economic development as it relates to those 5 areas of Salinas, because that's where a lot of our small businesses, employers are at. And then finally, I really would want to get to know a little bit more about, in terms of like the stakeholders. Here in the city of Salinas, we have a number of small merchants, right? We have small mom and pop merchants, right? They may have anywhere between like 2 employees or maybe like 10 or 15, right? But then we also have the franchises, right? Like, we have the larger businesses, right? Like McDonald's and Burger King. A lot of people, there seems to be a lot of excitement about City of Salinas about ready to open doors for its 18th Starbucks, right? So I would really want to know, in terms of economic development, as it pertains to our small businesses, right? Like, what can we do to support economic development, and how they differentiate between our small business owners and like some of the big ones. I don't know what the engagement was like necessarily with like the big companies, right? Like big companies, like I don't know if a company like Starbucks would like provide this input, like in terms of economic development. But those are things that really help me in terms of focusing like my times and efforts as we continue to support economic development and see what kind of like federal state support we might be able to get for like small business owners. I particularly want to see what we can do in terms of supporting small business owners. I feel like they're the backbone of our communities. Those who are small business owners, I mean, they live and breathe Salinas. So I am, I'll be transparent. I am biased towards small business owners because they tend to stay local. They hire local. We like to see them expand, and we'd like to see what resources are available to them. I know that there's some, like even philanthropic funding that's available for like startups and incubators. Everything from incubator kitchens to small business loans that are low, very, very low business loans. To be a small business owner in the city of Salinas, right? Like if you're contemplating an expansion and you have to go to your bank, and your bank is going to, lend you some money at 10 or 30%, whatever that may be. There is the philanthropic sector that does have like small business loans. And what are we doing? My question is, what are we doing to go after that funding, to support our small business owners? Not to mention that some of these small business loans also have like a loan forgiveness, which is like a real win-win for the small business owner, the employees, and our city at large. And so in terms of like the economic development component of our general plan, those are the things that I'm really looking for as I dive into the reports that we're receiving. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we will continue. Just kind of noting for the record questions, and then council members will get a final bite of the apple to comment. So questions, and then we'll head out to public. Jose?
Once we adopt this, according to the timeline, will we be receiving like an annual update or a biannual like progress report on activities to date?
Yeah, definitely. And so every year we have to go before you with so the state actually requires an annual progress report. So that's one of the things we'll be coming through in March about mostly our current general plan. So obviously, once adopted, shift to reporting on the goals and policies of this general plan. So every year there's an annual, it's two things. So there's an annual report just on the housing element, and there's one kind of on the rest of the plan. So yeah, so that'll at least be annually, and then we can obviously discuss with council and staff how to best produce that data and how to best format that.
Okay. And then what continued engagement of the business community and relevant economic development or workforce development stakeholders are you guys going to continue post-adoption of the general plan?
I think even pre-adoption, so I still think, to Mr. Salazar's point, there's more work to be done on improving our outreach process, especially in this. I know the city manager is committed to that. I think we need to continue to reach out to those different pockets of the city and figure out a way to do that. It's somewhat easier with the downtown or with SUBA, with the organizations, but how do we reach those areas where they're not as organized? It's an ongoing challenge, so we'll continue to work on that. In this, we do have a business navigator staff position created after the outside residency plan, which recognized that small businesses often need a little more support through these processes, and that's one of that position's roles. So I think we're working with the Economic Development Division, whatever form that takes, to make sure we are doing that and keep them going out during and after the general plan process. And I'll let Lisa.
Lisa,
I
do you
could
wanna
just give a
throw in?
little more specifics. So this is an area where the city has a lot of room to grow, building relationships with our business community of all sizes, larger industry to the small mom and pop. So we are really working to build a framework for a business retention and expansion program that begins with relationship. And so our first meeting was with business associations because they're the door to connect with their membership, and they have existing relationships with small businesses or their membership that they serve. So in November, it was convening, the Chamber, SUBA, Salinas City Improvement Association, all those associations that really touch or provide services to Monterey County Business Council, Small Business Development Center. And so that's really the starting point. So our next step here is reconvening that group and keeping them moving forward with the economic development, but also talking to them about how do we approach building the relationships. And we're developing a survey, which we would like to open the door and work with them to start connecting with businesses. How do you interact with the city? What has that interaction been like? What services are you looking for from the city? Some basic starter questions to really build that relationship, and then we can go forward with the framework. What actions are needed? What support, resources, what types of funding are they looking for to better guide our programs?
Thank you.
Jose,
Thank you, Lisa.
anything else? Okay, Councilmember Barrera, any questions?
Mr. Moore, good seeing you. Mr. Moore, did you receive the letter from Monterey Salinas Transit regarding moving forward here on LSL? Did anybody receive?
I don't think I
Mr.
received the letter.
Mendez?
We did receive a letter for the Alice Streetscape,
Yes,
and that's an item coming up.
okay.
But all that planning is also informing the general plan, like Mr. Moore explained.
Yes, and that's what I wanted to make sure that.
But we
don't
did
lose
receive
that.
the letter.
So you got some answers for that. Thank
We're
you.
working on it.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor, I got another question.
Right.
Yeah, Monterey Salinas Transit plays a big role in this project. What you heard in one of your slides, we need to create an environment where businesses can grow. How do you think we're doing on that?
I think it's a continually process, as Lisa said, probably an area we can do better on. We've heard we can do better several times throughout the process, so we have to believe the people and be open to examining why that is and how we can change it.
Okay. So would you say when businesses come to the city to do business, it's a good process to be able to get them in there quickly and get their shops open?
That's what we want.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Thank you. The other thing, down the same lines on the draft goals and policy summary, encouraging a thriving business environment through supporting startups and growing current businesses. I am sure your staff is pretty good about going out there and meeting with businesses out in the community.
I think of Lisa's staff.
In terms of meeting with businesses, we need to do more. So we have, through COVID funding, CDBG, Community Development Block Grant COVID funding, we were able to establish a limited term position that focused on business navigation. And we established a hotline for businesses to call, needing support, an email. We have stood up a website with resource information. The Small Business Navigator works one-on-one with businesses who are wanting to know, where do I start? And connecting them to the resources or answering questions on how to navigate city processes. But I think we can do much more. So in this case, we're expecting them to come to us. The next step, again, in building the relationship is to go to them and really get to know them more, understand who our business community is and what their needs are, and how we can build off opportunities that are missing in our current business climate and composition.
Thank you.
Councilmember Sandoval.
Thank you. Just one question for Lisa. Could you share a little bit about the positions that we brought on the last year to help move some of our processes that some of the council members have expressed some interest in supporting? share a little bit about that?
So in terms of improvements at the Permit Center?
Yes.
Yes, so we are going to have a annual update at our next meeting. We're presenting a comprehensive 2024 Permit Center annual report, but a quick preview would be our focus on staffing, workflow, communication, and training that we've been undertaking, really looking at where we need to put staffing, working as staff to break down barriers to improve workflow, and providing training in the areas of communication, customer service, as well as technical skills so that we can be performing at the level that we need to handle the volume that is coming our way and will continue to grow in the future.
I think it's going to be an exciting report, and I'm looking forward to seeing how much more staff we need to make some of these things happen. So thank you.
Thank you, Andrew. All right. We will now take public comment on the matter. Public comment is limited to 2 minutes per speaker. And with that, we are open for business on this item.
So this is on this specific item, correct?
Excuse me?
This is on this specific item.
Yes.
This is a huge plan, and what you need to do, ignorance is bliss. But once I explain it, then there's no excuses, right? If you have a project this big, what you need to do is you need to break it down into 12 different categories or sections. And then what you should do is have your team report on one of these sections each month. So that way, the details are being explored by your team and the community. If you brief once or twice in a year, then everything that you need for this thing to be transparent and intelligent and managed properly to where the monies are best executed can be lost. Break the project down into modules and then have them report on modules every month to where your questions can be brought into the details of the thing that might be hidden and might be something that you realize needed to be managed, needed to be looked at systematically, intelligently. Ignorance is bliss until you are taught better.
Okay, thank you. Next up.
Hi, thank you for the presentation. I got a little lost. There's a lot of talking about what you want to do, but not what you have done with the money so far and what you plan to do with it. I didn't see a lot of that there. I also didn't see a lot of transparency as far as every year you're going to do a new research. What's that going to cost? You know, to do more inventory of what you're doing. I just don't see that. We're spending money doing research and we're not building anything yet. And how do you reach out to the East Side community? There's a lot of shop owners there. I mean, who represents them out there? Has anybody reached out there and talked to them? Or are we just worried about downtown? I just heard a bunch of, oh, what about downtown? That's all I heard. I mean, there's a lot of potential on the East Side. There's a lot of businesses out there, but I don't see anybody even caring or asking about them. Mr. Barrera, you got to talk to this guy. Bring him out there. Bring some more money to the East Side. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next up, Mr. Light.
Good evening. Good evening. Great questions, Tony. The piggyback on some of this, it seems like there's a lot of money that wants to go to staff. But the constituents are broke again with nothing, right? So, it sounds like a lot of the staff issues can be fully facilitated with AI and eliminate the cost involved in the incompetence of the humans. A lot of defensive plan, no offense, right? Oh, we got a number for businesses. What business wants to call the city just to get smashed with fees, overwhelming costs, and totally out of touch people from reality of the cost of doing business? Seems like the city seems to run people out. Very good idea, engagement, first step, the chamber and these business organizations, but quite honestly, in the last, 4 years of definitions, that's a white privileged approach. Why don't you go out and knock on the doors, take the quadrants of the city, go door to door and talk to these business people that are contributing, whether they're legally contributing or not legally contributing to the confines of whatever your permit process is, meet the people, shake their hands, get to know them, they'll tell you a list of 10 things that's wrong. But they're not going to come and knock on your door. Go to them. We want to help. We want to be a part of the process, but we don't want to be discriminated against. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, City Council, Honorable Mayor, Luis Chago Juarez for Building Healthy Communities, and we're appreciating this opportunity to share out our thoughts and observations. I understand that in the last 4 years, from our experience through COVID, how effective the navigation has been for a lot of the neighbors that I know, taco truck vendors, street vendors, vendedores ambulantes, all those who were able to get through, break down through some barriers of language and culture, and be able to achieve like a permit. But that's still that piece, the facilitation of that piece, based on the comments that we just heard, you know, that human connection, we know how valuable that is, right? And we also know the benefits of that when those connections are made, those relationships are fortified. It feels as if, you know, there's so much more opportunity. It's a lot to be excited about. But there are lessons that we need to pay some close attention to. We can just easily reference within the last 2-3 years, and willing to be a part of that conversation. Thank you.
Thank you. All right.
Hi, David Masonev. I just wanted to say that I understand this is a general plan, but it doesn't touch anything that I found out when I was canvassing to run for council. Okay, the needs of the people aren't necessarily being met by this general plan. We still have immense potholes. We still have streets falling apart. We still have people concerned about their safety. We have needs of putting in, and all of these things are being done. The city's doing them, so I'm not saying that you're not doing them. But the general plan doesn't seem to reflect these things based on what was just told to us. So I kind of think you need to think a little more, until we get the city running up to snuff, up to par on at a general pace. This stuff's just wish list. It's like if you can't get the streets fixed, but you're gonna start looking at, and I know this is a touchy spot, but you're looking at East LSL to fix up East LSL. I'm good with that, but let's get the streets working first. So the general plan in general is a nice idea, but it's not getting anywhere.
All right. Anyone else from the public? Going, gone. All right. All right, final comments from council. Andrew, we'll start on your side this time.
Are we going to take public comments from Zoom?
Oh, is there a Zoomer? Okay, how about it?
There's none on Zoom.
Okay, thank you for calling to our attention. Back in your court. Andrew?
I recognize the frustration with it's just another plan, but in my time here on the city council, I've realized that for a long time, a lot of things didn't necessarily have as detailed a plan as we are now creating. The amount of outreach our staff has done the last 2 years, what I've witnessed, compared to the last 10, 15, 20 years, it is like, I mean, it's incredible. Is there always room for improvement? Yes, I recognize that. I know we're going to be coming with a new communications plan strategy to further grow that communication. But the level of engagement, the languages spoken, that's historic for the city of Salinas. Do we want metrics and do we expect metrics? We do. But I just want to commend our staff. We've come a long, long way. And trust me, I was one of those skeptics, and I know Lisa probably knows where I'm going to go with this, but I remember attending a LSL vibrancy plan where they talked about all these amazing things they were going to do. I'm like, nah, you know, we're not going to see that. That's just, you know, even those residents had concerns, but we have made progress. I just commend the staff, and we will be paying attention and getting reports. And just so you know, we do get periodic updates, not just once a year. We get information through smaller agenda items that bring us to this. You know, the level of the committee from the community has also been incredible. There's people from sustainability to residents to businesses to SUBA to all kinds of organizations. So is there more work to be done? Absolutely. But I think this is a good step to develop a strong foundation to get us to where we need to be. So those are all my comments. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councilmember. Councilmember Barrera, anything else?
Yes, thank you. Mr. Moore, thank you for you and your staff. And I believe you just had a meeting at El Gavilan Library, engaging the community. I mean, this thing is 22 workshops, 8 working groups, 16 steering committees, pop-ups and grassroots outreach, house meetings, English and Spanish. So a lot of work, and thank you for putting it together. And Ms. Brenton, I commend you. You have an awesome staff. You really do. Very vibrant. They connect very well with the people. Thank you.
Jose?
I guess my comments would largely reflect upon the continued engagement, holding ourselves accountable to what we end up adopting, and would be open to establishing a standing subcommittee of the City Council, specifically focusing on economic development, and then perhaps exploring having an advisory committee that advises us, comprised of, you know, industry, organizations, representatives, small businesses, and, you know, a good diverse mix that can advise the city on a regular basis of different policies and procedures, and we can always have a continual, you know, feel on the ground of, you know, a pulse of what our businesses are feeling, right? So we're more proactive rather than reactive to whatever, you know, ups and downs economically they might be going through. And again, just to touch lightly and address the, you know, the comments about, you know, how long this planning takes. I remember when the future growth area, when I was way younger than I am now, you know, that was a plan, and now we're kind of executing that, right? So even I acknowledge that, you know, things take time, but if we fail to plan, we plan to fail. And having these plans also gives us something concrete that we can go back and cite to hold ourselves accountable, right? So I want to be able to go back, you know, 5 years from now and cite our economic development element and be able to, you know, give you guys all a rundown of things that we have done to move that forward and move the needle on that issue. Thank you.
Councilmember Ross, I'm not going to age you. I'm just going to let you know when the future growth area got annexed in 2008. You can do the math. So, but that speaks well of your institutional memory. Margaret, anything?
Yeah, just a few things. I appreciate all your comments. I think it's something for us to definitely take into consideration. I respect that you guys care about the future of our city, and so thank you for being here and making those comments. I also want to say thank you, Councilmember Sandoval, for your comments as well, because, you know, being the new kid on the block, I don't know how much has gone into it, but obviously there's been a lot of work done, and this is a heavy lift. These are lofty goals, and I think we're all sitting around the room going, yeah, is this really going to happen? But we have to have hope, and we have to have a plan going forward. So, like if we're going to invest in bike lanes, then we have to make sure people are on their bikes and using them, and don't just put them out there to make everything look nice. We need to encourage people to you know, use different types of transportation. So I think that's really important. Yes, things take time, and this is a big deal. I know there's a lot of work that's gone into it, and thank you guys. The general public hasn't been exposed to the level of detail that we have. That the packet that we read in the last 4 or 5 days is very extensive. There's more detail than I could digest in, you know, 3 to 4 days. But so there is a lot more information out there. If you're looking for that, seek us out so you can get more detail, because there is a lot more than just what they presented tonight. Thank you.
Thanks, Margaret. Gloria?
Okay. I want to thank Lisa and your staff okay? And I'm really excited of returning back and to really, the plans that we had, the meetings that we had in the vibrancy plan. So I'm really excited about that. And I really mean it about requesting lights in the LSL and Market Street, that it should look like downtown. So that's something I really want to work with you and making that happen. And the community engagement, like you heard, with the small businesses in our city and promoting other businesses. And I really liked your comment on what you said, we need to do more. We all need to do more to make our city prosper and our businesses. Thank you.
Thank you, Gloria. Councilmember Salazar.
Yes. Had the distinct pleasure of working on the county's general plan, and I think at the time of my appointment, I was told that it would be passed within a couple of months. It didn't feel, where I'm going at with this. It wasn't until about 4 years later that the actual county general plan went through. So I really understand like the time and the commitment that staff has put into this. I just want to emphasize and kind of reiterate, the whole purpose of the general plan is to provide the council like a guiding document of like where the council wants to go and prioritize what we should be doing around economic development. So I really want to thank staff for the work that they put into this. One of my biggest fears with any general plan is like, we don't want to get into like a 4-year process of like getting a general plan finalized, which kind of speaks to some of our public comments, which I will completely agree with in terms of making sure that we're cost efficient. Like we just got to be cost efficient, which means that we really need to have the talent on city staff that knows how to do that community engagement, which is the other part that I heard from the public. Having done community engagement in the past here in Salinas, quite often it does consist of just picking up the phone, right? And in terms of like the 5 areas that I mentioned this evening, North Salinas, South Salinas, East Salinas, West Salinas, and the central area. If we're able to continue to identify and maintain that relationship with like 20 or 40 businesses and have them engage and continue to ask them like, what are your challenges, right? And get that input from them. Also asking them what has worked successfully, right? And continue to get that input from them. If you go as low as like 20 local merchants, you get a ton of feedback, you get a ton of data. Having done my fair share of research projects in the past, quite often, a lot of this work can be alleviated by passing it on and say, we really want and we really need your input. I know we have a number of businesses, they got to come back in every year and renew their licenses. I mean, that might be the opportunity for us to have a tool that we can hand to them or survey and say, hey, again, what are your weaknesses? What are your strengths? What's working well? What recommendations do you have for us? And I think, we'll all find some very insightful, information. But for me as a council member, having that stakeholder feedback is really what helps me guide in my decision-making process, right? And I know it guides you as well. Like hearing from our local merchants in terms of economic development, what that means, how we can support them. I think we can walk away with a plan that can be implemented by the council.
Okay, thank you. Just a couple of things. One of the things, and I do appreciate, the range of public comments. One of the things that needs to be noted is the city is obligated by law to have a general plan update, and this is the time frame. So a general plan and wanting to do more sidewalks and potholes, those things have to exist side by side, in terms of process improvement. So I just want to let everyone know that this is a legal requirement of the city. I will now age myself as opposed to Councilmember Barajas. I was on the last general plan update, which was some 20 plus years ago. So we're required to do this. And I think it's important to note the context of what was presented tonight. This was simply an element. So if you think this has got a lot of stuff, there's 8 different, I think it's 8 moving parts to a general plan. I also want to echo Councilmember Sandoval with no political agenda in mind. Over the last couple of years, I've wandered into some of the community planning meetings, and they have been throughout the city. They have received good, diversified input. So everyone would always be in agreement, you know, in this type of process, more is better. But there really was a very sincere, good, positive outreach, rather than we satisfied the legal requirements and we got it in the paper. It was much more than that. So I think folks should feel good about that if we can do better. And I will say this, on an ongoing basis, the city getting teed up, how do we routinely and structurally stay engaged with this community is going to be important. Because all of us just having gone through the election cycle, and I could go you, and you. There's a lot of things on the residents of this community's minds. And so we know information's important. But I do think, and I'll just close with this, you know, there were some top line elements to the plan. You know, beautification, you know, appearance matters. A strong belief that we need to support what's here are very, and I think we can all agree, regardless of what part of the city we live in, move in, there's some huge opportunities with some of our neighborhood shopping areas, and I think everybody recognizes that, and I think that's really got to be part and parcel of the future. But then we also heard, and this is the tough one, how do we get more businesses here, higher paying jobs, that sort of thing. And so that's certainly uppermost in mind. But quality of life, quality of this city, that's going to matter. And that's where the city can really weigh in. And that's why fixing potholes and sidewalks, all those things are important in terms of the physical characteristics of the city. So I think we got that. But I just kind of want to put what this presentation's, you know, in context. And, you know, and it is, you know, hopefully we don't go through, how long did the county take to?
About 4.5?
Yeah, about 4.5 years. We'll do it faster than that.
She got a degree.
We will do it faster than that when we get the plan. So with that, we will go ahead and proceed to public comment. And if you wish to make a general public comment on a specific item, let's see. We're open for public comment for any items that are not on the agenda. 2 minutes. And let's see. The other thing is, the last time we did public comment, which is fine, I'm just going to note for the record for a little housekeeping. As you know, this is a Monday, not a Tuesday. And so it's really livened up the front end of the week. If we go past a certain point on public comment, Mayor Pro Tem, Councilmember Salazar will take over the meeting, because this meeting runs into another board that I'm on. So if someone sees me do a disappearing act, that'll be why. So with that, public comment, 2 minutes.
Good evening, Mayor, City Manager, City Attorney, City Council, and city employees that are here. I'm here to offer a prayer for our council, for our city, and I hope those of you who know this prayer will join along. It is the Lord's Prayer. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, and deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory forever and ever. Amen. In another note, I volunteer down in Chinatown quite a bit. I'm involved with an organization called Closer Walk, and we partner with Dorothy's Kitchen and Dorothy's Drop-In Center. It's cold out there, folks. It's really cold, and it's going to get, you know, lower than 40 degrees in this next week. And we are collecting blankets, coats, hand warmers, stocking caps, mittens, and tarps. So individuals who have these things around their home, or businesses that maybe have a bunch of tarps they could donate, it would be wonderful if you could bring them down to Soledad Street. Come to 30 Soledad Street, that's Dorothy's place, or you can donate them to Closer Walk, which is 22 Soledad Street. We would love to have those donations. There are a few of us that are going to be hitting the streets tonight, handing them out across town. It won't just be in Chinatown that things are handed out. We'll be going to Natividad Creek Park and different places where we know the homeless are congregating. Okay? Thank you so much for your service. We appreciate you.
Thank you. Okay.
My advice would be monthly reporting on the general plan. If it's something that big, report on it consistently, often, and make sure that everything is transparent metrics. Jose, that was a great suggestion. So report monthly. One of my biggest concerns from last year is that the board was bringing items that needed to be approved, financial items. And they were bringing the items to the board the day that they needed to be voted on. So that means that questions from board members, your own council members, weren't answered, concerns were not addressed, community concerns weren't addressed. And these were things that, contracts that the county was obligated to fulfill, and the board voted on them the last minute, which means that you justified an inability to manage your projects. You use that as a justification to vote on things. My suggestion for you, and again, if you know, then you do know and can be held accountable. Anything that you need to vote on that's being presented should be presented 60 days before you need to vote. That will give you time to make good decisions and to educate yourselves and to listen to the needs of the community. We had a woman here that came in and talked about all of the threats that we have from pesticides. She explained to you all of the threats. She had all this intelligent strategies to do testing. And why aren't you talking to her? Why aren't you telling us how it is that you're going to protect us from pesticides? I will come up every week and remind you that that woman gave you a plan. She gave you information. She gave you scientific strategies that if you don't implement and you ignore, then you're disserving this community, right? If you know, then that's great. And if you don't know, then let's act like we do know.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Sofia Cortez. That was some good stuff right there. I want to start with you, Ms. Delvego. Welcome. It's nice to see you there. Ms. De La Rosa, I seen the meeting last week, and you brought something up in regards to the prostitution. And my answer to you is to give those women resources, and the city should provide a safe house for them. Because I've been out there in a protest with that they had out there last year. Mr. Salazar, I'm asking you to make a public apology to Mr. Sandoval. And I would like to know why our city attorney allowed you to have the ability to sit in that chair knowing that there's a criminal investigation going on against you. The only reason they're not successful is because you've yet to provide the videos that they're needing. Mr. Mayor, welcome back. Mr. Jose, I don't know anything about you, but I'm just so excited because you're young, and I'm hoping you're giving some fresh outlook. Mr. Barrera, Mr. Sandoval, it's nice to see you. Happy New Year's. I'm also here to just share that there is a red card that I'm hoping that the city is going to be able to provide for the Mexican people. And I'd also like to ask if you guys are going to also be sharing the new phone app that Mexico has provided for their citizens that are here called a Consul app. It is also supposed to help them be able to notify the consulate by pressing a button on that app. I'm educating myself, and I'm providing a free service in my tax office for any of these people who want to come and get help with downloading the app. But it's my hopes that the city is going to be able to write down Consul app and do your research I have and provide it to the community. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, good evening. I'm a voter in District 4. And at the last meeting, there were some comments, some public comments that were made, and I just wanted to address some possible misconceptions because there's a lot of disinformation out there. And I think it's important that we're not misportraying undocumented residents in our communities as criminals. All the research shows, and you can look this up, that crime is actually lowest among undocumented immigrant communities. Some people want to call them criminals simply for being here without the proper documentation, but the part of that story that's missing is that the U.S. immigration system does not have an accessible way for these workers to access the proper documentation. So it's not an issue of wanting to commit a crime, it's an issue of being ignored and excluded by the system. And this is a real injustice to undocumented workers, considering that there is such a high demand for their labor in industries that American-born workers have not been willing to work in. And because many are displaced from Mexico and Central America as a result of U.S. policies, and companies whose practices make it virtually impossible for small farmers to subsist in their own countries. So they often have no other choice than to bring their skills to places like the Salinas Valley. They're not criminals. They are not the problem. They contribute, as you all know, significantly to our economy through their labor and also through the billions in tax dollars that they contribute. And then they're not able to access many of the programs that their tax dollars pay for. And then unfortunately now they're living in increased fear. And just with everything that's going on in our world right now, I feel like really strongly that this is not the time for us to be alienating members of our community. This is time for us to come together, to support each other, to protect one another, and to work together to build a livable Salinas for all people. And I trust and hope that this council will bring us together to do just that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Bill Freeman, and two things our community should be concerned about because of what the felon did in the White House last week. He pardoned 1,500 violent people who attacked our Capitol building in Washington, D.C. 4 years ago. And these people are all over the country. They're violent right-wing Nazis. Secondly, we should be concerned about the felon in the White House coming after people that worked the hardest in our community, hardest in our state, hardest in our country, that just come here for a better way of life. And he's rounding people up like Hitler did in Germany in the 1930s. And we need to stand against this. We need to stand against the felon in the White House. Thirdly, I'd like to say that I am sick and tired of people coming after my friend Andrew Sandoval, City Councilman Andrew Sandoval. He's not harassing anyone in our county. He's defending himself against people who are lying about his behavior. And lastly, I believe Aurelio Salazar should have been arrested for assaulting my friend Andrew Sandoval, City Councilman Andrew Sandoval, before the election because you didn't want him to hear what you had to say at Mikeson Creek Bridge. Too bad. You don't have the right to assault someone and not go to jail.
Yolanda Hayes here. Good afternoon. I just want to tell Mr. Friedman, I don't know if I'm supposed to do this or not from council, but I think he needs to stop attacking Mr. Aurelio Salazar. The meeting, I was the sponsor of this meeting. I held this meeting as a fundraiser, and I truly respect Mr. Aurelio Salazar. I went today to the pizza place, checked the door. I don't know how Mr. I don't know how Mr. Sandoval hurt his hand. It wasn't Mr. Aurelio Salazar. You see, a 5'8" to a 6'2", maybe 160 pounds to maybe 240. It's just impossible. So let that go away. We shouldn't be talking about that anymore. That should just go away. I wish everybody that would come up here would stop criticizing Mr. Donahue, Mr. Aurelio Salazar. As for me, myself, I wasn't threatened by Mr. Sandoval, but I was told by a lot of my neighbors, stay away from him. He's danger. He'll come after you. So I am a resident. I was doing my duty. So I don't know why they told me that. I've always respected Mr. Sandoval, but that's what I was told. So don't play nicey that everything was well. It wasn't. And I don't believe Mr. Aurelio Salazar did any harm. And I believe that Mr. Aurelio Salazar is a fine standing man in our community who has fought for our community, who is an active member of my neighborhood, and I am proud to have him as my council member for District 6. Thank you, Aurelio, being a family man, having a full-time job. I admire you. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Liz Camacho, District 1 resident. Councilmember Barajas, you've spoken about growing up undocumented in Salinas, watching ICE raids tear apart elementary schools, classrooms, seeing classmates vanish overnight. You've lived the very reality that many of our community face today. It's interesting, Big Ag was quite eager to support many of your campaigns. Yet now, when our community faces these raids, they've fallen remarkably quiet. Perhaps their silence stems from an awkward predicament. How do you publicly advocate for workers when doing so might raise uncomfortable questions about your workforce? Councilmember Barajas, you once said you were committed to, I quote, looking out for those who are unable to express their voice because they literally do not have the ability to vote to express that political pain. Well, Councilmember, that moment is now. Or does that commitment only apply when it doesn't conflict with political interests? The irony isn't lost on our community. A formerly undocumented resident supported by agricultural giants who profit from undocumented labor, now sitting silent while families live in fear. We need more than carefully crafted statements from all of you. We need action. Up until right before this meeting, only 3 of you had posted anything regarding these rates. Councilmember Salazar, you posted the red card information, thank you. Councilmember Barrera and Councilmember Sandoval, thank you for your support.
Good afternoon, my name is Antonio Rábago, I'm with Montebello. I'm just here to make a quick request for supervision in our park. We have been told too many times that there's no personnel to be supervising the park. We have people coming in with their own portable lights at night, staying till whatever time they want. I have been in contact with Mr. Jacobs, Christian Lindquist, and Mr. Barrera, and come to find out that there's no personnel to take care of the park when the afternoon comes and the night's there. Police doesn't react. Nobody reacts, not even Council Jacobs, Christian Lindquist. We need somebody to supervise that park and get those portable lights out at night. Thank you.
Buenas tardes, mi nombre es María Chávez, vivo en el Distrito 4, soy de Vecindarios Prósperos. Quiero que se acabe la prostitución y tráfico en nuestras calles, King, Kerr, Madeira y Roosevelt, porque nomás la controlan por ratos y sigue, y más en la noche. Soy una persona adulta y el vivir y caminar por esas calles me da miedo y temor. Y nuestros jóvenes y niños están sufriendo más. Pido una ordenanza que acabe con la prostitución en vecindarios, donde vivimos familias. Dicen que es legal que se prostituyan, que las pongan en un lugar donde no haya familias, estén seguras ellas y estemos seguras las familias. Pido también que se pongan luces en la calle Roosevelt y Madeira, ya que están muy oscuras y por eso pasan muchas cosas. Ejemplo, vandalismo, robo de carros, prostitución y muchas cosas más. Y en el staff de calle Roosevelt y Madeira, que pongan luces en los staff, ya que no se puede hacer otra cosa allí, porque ha habido muchos choques y nuestro temor es que un carro se vaya contra un apartamento o una casa y mate a una persona inocente. Muchas gracias.
Good afternoon. My name is Maria Chavez, and I'm from District 4. I'm from Thriving Neighborhoods, and I'm here to ask you to please stop prostitution and traffic in the streets of King, Kerf, Madeira, and Roosevelt. There's a lot of activity at night. There's a lot of prostitution, and I'm an adult, and I'm afraid to walk on those streets. It is hard for the youth. They are suffering. We need an ordinance to stop prostitution. They say that prostitution is legal. Well, then, let them do that, but not where families live. Take them to a safe place where they're not going to be at risk, and they're not going to be in a place where families can see them. And also, we need more lights in Roosevelt and Madeira. It is very dark there, and because it's so dark, there's a lot of vandalism and also a lot of prostitution. They're also stealing cars in those areas. There's also a need to put a stoplight in the intersection of Roosevelt and Madeira. There's a lot of traffic accidents on that intersection, and we fear that one of those accidents can end up crashing into one of our homes or apartments and kill an innocent bystander.
Thank you. Gracias.
Hola, buenas tardes. Mi nombre es Leticia Nolasco, pertenezco al Distrito 4 y vengo con el mismo problema. Nosotros estamos batallando ahorita demasiado por la prostitución. Están cerrando, ha habido más patrullas, ahora están patrullando más. Lo que pasa es que están cerrando King y una parte de la Roosevelt, pero el problema es que se vienen para los apartamentos de nosotros. Nos gustaría mucho que pusieran luces porque no se ve en la noche. La noche es mucho problema. Ellas pasan por todos los apartamentos de nosotros. Yo soy la pura orilla en Roosevelt. Se escucha todo. Es muy feo. Los niños no pueden andar afuera viendo tanto. Ellas están desnudas, traen demasiada poca ropa y no puede estar pasando eso. Somos un lugar familiar. Estamos pidiendo, por favor, nos pongan luces, pongan un remedio también para tanto accidente. Y los accidentes son por eso, porque van volteando para estarlas mirando. Ha habido muchos accidentes por lo mismo. Por favor, necesitamos luces, más seguridad, pero definitivamente que las quiten de ahí. Son lugares familiares, hay muchos niños y nos gustaría que ellas estuvieran lejos. Nosotros no somos nadie para juzgarlas, es su vida, pero lejos de nosotros, porque ha sido un problema constante ya de muchos años. Así que muchísimas gracias a todos y por favor, gracias.
Thank you.
Leticia Nolasco, okay. Good afternoon. My name is Leticia Nolasco, and I'm from District 4, and I'm here with the same issue, prostitution. True, now there's more police patrolling the areas, and they have closed King and Roosevelt, but the problem is that they come to our apartments. And I live at the side of the road, and the problem is that we can hear them. They're out on the streets, they're practically naked, and our children are hearing and seeing those things. They can't even go out on the street. So we need to have more lights. We're not here to judge them. They can do whatever they want, but not with us, not at a family place. We have many children that are living day to day, seeing all these prostitutes. And one of the reasons that there's so many accidents on the intersection is because people that are driving by are looking at them. They're turning around to look at the prostitutes. So really, we need you to help us to get rid of the prostitution and to get more lights, more public lighting. Thank you.
Thank you.
Buenas tardes, mi nombre es Ana Vera, soy del Distrito 1 y tengo mucha preocupación donde yo vivo. Vivo en la Raiden 903. El apartamento donde yo vivo lo vendieron en octubre, a finales de octubre, y el nuevo dueño nos subió el doble de renta a principios de noviembre. Entonces mi vecino lo demandó por subir el doble de renta. Entonces lo arreglaron, pero ya el nuevo dueño nos está pidiendo el apartamento a todos y pues estamos preocupados porque no tenemos, nos dio 2 meses y es hora de que no he encontrado ningún lugar, he metido aplicaciones y es mucho para estar aplicando, tengo que estar pagando por cada persona de mi familia y no me dicen nada, estoy buscando apoyo, solo tengo esta semana para dejar el apartamento y no he encontrado en dónde y estoy muy preocupada, no sé qué hacer y pues he intentado como hablar con su abogada para a ver si hay un convenio o un trato con el dueño, pero él no quiere saber nada, no sé ni su información de él, no sé. Y estamos preocupados a dónde voy a ir a vivir y si me van a dar tiempo o no. A mí me habían dicho que nada más 2 semanas, pero es muy poco para nosotros. Y pues siento que fue algo malo del dueño hacia nosotros por corrernos inmediatamente y no sé qué hacer. Gracias.
Good afternoon. My name is Ana Vera, and I'm from District 1. And I'm really, really worried. I live on Reed 903. And the thing is that those apartments were sold at the end of October last year. And the new owner in November doubled our rent. One of our neighbors sued him. They kind of reached an agreement. But the thing is that now he's asked all of us to leave the apartment. So he's displacing us. He's only giving us 2 months to leave the house. And I've submitted a lot of applications. I have looked for a place to live, but I can't find anywhere to live. It is very expensive because I have to pay an application for each member of my family. So I don't even know what to do. They're asking us to leave the apartment. I'm really worried. I don't have anywhere to live. I've tried to speak to the landlord's lawyer to see if we can reach an agreement, but they're not answering. They're not giving us any type of information. I've asked for time. I think 2 weeks, it's not really enough, and I have to leave the apartment next week, so I just don't know who to turn to or what to do.
Councilmember Salazar, I'm going to turn the meeting over to you after you get the monitor consent. We will take note of that. Thank you. Hold on just
We'll go ahead and move on. We'll go ahead and move on to the next speaker.
switch chairs here.
City Attorney, can somebody reach out to her to see what services or resources we could provide?
Lisa Brinchen's already taking care of that.
Okay, my name is Jim Bricker. I live in District 5, and I live on Swanner Avenue. I respectfully request that we update and improve our traffic management policy. The current system has significant inefficiencies with residential streets often shuffled from the top of the list to the bottom of the list. Case in point, on our street, Swanner Avenue, we went from number 9, 2021 to 2022, moved up to number 7 on June 21st of 2020 and was approved. 2023 to 2024, we went to number 4 on the list. 2024 to 2025, now we're back down to number 13. Our neighborhood has been asking for traffic calming in our neighborhood since 1998. There must be a more efficient way to implement traffic calming measures in our neighborhood. Many Salinas residents could benefit from a more streamlined process. Currently, the policy for implementing traffic calming measures can take up to 2 years, which is far too long for addressing urgent safety concerns, especially when your neighborhood nears the top of the list only to be reshuffled. We have a school around the corner and has parents walking their kids to and from home for school. Cars go way too fast down this street and others adjacent to it. I propose that the Traffic and Transportation Committee take on this discussion and bring a recommendation to the City Council. This change could save the city staff time while better serving our residents and keeping. Anyway,
Thank you.
thank you.
Move on to our next speaker.
Good evening. Kind of a breath of fresh air here that, Mayor acknowledging passing in 2008, the last general plan, an absolute living hell that we're living through as we can see here. Total dysfunctional city, hookers and sex everywhere, rampant homelessness destroying our business community, and quite honestly, us accepting an absolute intolerable, inhumane living. Something else I want to talk about here, though, and it has to do with ICE and Border Patrol. As much as I respect ICE and Border Patrol and what they do, our community has dealt with immigration since California became California outside of Mexico. And I believe our community knows how to deal with this better than anyone. And I would respectfully ask for our city to inform Border Patrol and ICE that they can wait at the city limits until they receive a call. I do not condone the enslavement of an immigrant coming to this community and working illegally. I don't support any employer that would ever employ illegal, undocumented workers. However, within our city, our residents do not need to be harassed. We know how to deal with these people, and we know who's committing crimes. Border Patrol and ICE need to stay at our city limits, and we protect our residents here at all costs. They do not deserve to be harassed, and we know who's committing crimes, and we inform our police to do their job. And when somebody comes up undocumented, committing crimes, driving drunk, and hurting our community, they go back. We call ICE to come in and give us a hand and take them home. Thank you very much, but stay at the city limits. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Jose Guerra, Montebello Community. Once again, had a great turnout at our meeting. Mr. Barrera, thanks for coming. I want to remind you guys, you're all welcome to come to their meetings. Montebello welcomes everybody. We always have different entities there. We had, I believe it was Laurel Heights was there representing, Creek Ridge was there. And we invite everybody. The only thing I ask is be respectful, like we are here with everybody. Be respectful. You don't have to like my comment. You don't have to like what I say. But like I do with my own people in my community, I respect them. I let them talk. I don't belittle them. I don't yell at them. They're out of order. Let them know, hey, you're out of order. You're out of order. Please sit down. So when you come to our community, to our meetings, it's our world. It's our meeting. Please be respectful, like we're respectful at your meeting. On a second note, our park again is being invaded. I reached out to Mr. Rojas again today. I sent very much pictures to Mr. Barrera. I'm sure you all got it. I did on public comment, email also. We need a lot of help over there. Ms. Lindquist, we really need you to help us. We really do. Mr. Jacob needs to help us. Mr. Lorenzo in Parking Enforcement needs to help us. The city of Salinas needs to close those gates on the side of the park and make them come in through the LSL Union School District. I'm sorry, the LSL Union School District on that side. And make them responsible for the bathrooms that are not being supplied and the waste, of course, the garbage and everything else they leave behind. And we need to do something, guys. It's going on 3 years now. Come on, we've been talking about this too long. Thank you, Ms. Lindquist. We closed the parks now, finally. That's all I have. Have a good day. Thank you.
Thank you.
Buenas noches, mi nombre es Beltia Rondín. Beltia. Soy del Distrito 4. Estoy aquí por lo de la prostitución. Vivo entre Rosabel y Madeira. Está demasiado oscuro.
Ha habido varias noches que las mismas compañeras que están en la calle sin ropa han tocado la puerta de mi casa, han querido abrirla, le hemos hablado a la policía, tengo una niña discapacitada, entonces salimos a la tienda y ellas se meten a los estacionamientos donde vivimos. Entonces salimos y les decimos que por favor se muevan y se ponen muy agresivos. Entonces los niños, tanto niños como jóvenes, tenemos miedo a salir. A la hora que llegan los niños de Washington de la escuela, ellas están sin ropa, allí atravesados entre los niños. Entonces también los policías no pueden hacer tanto. Y llegan y les decimos, ¿te puedes mover? Y ellos se ponen muy agresivos. Entonces nos da miedo, más en la noche, que hay de todos tipos, hasta personas, sin insultarlas, chaparritas que se esconden entre los carros. Entonces, mucho la prostitución, y por favor les pido que de verdad nos ayuden y pongan luces, porque está demasiado oscuro. Lo único que se mira son los tacones alumbrados que ellas cargan, porque no se mira nada. Ha habido que las han atropellado. Hay demasiado, de verdad les pido de favor que se pueda hacer algo allí, o que pongan luces, porque la verdad, o stops, porque la verdad nos da hasta miedo. Muchísimas gracias.
Gracias.
Okay. Good afternoon. My name is Patleiste, and I'm from District 4. I live between Roswell and Madeira, and I'm here also because of the prostitution problem. It is very difficult. It is very dark at night. If we leave our house, then they go into our parking lot, and one night they even came and knocked on my door several times. I have a child that's disabled, so I had to call the police. The thing is that our youth and our children are afraid to even go out. We can't even go out to the store because we see them around walking and they're naked. Children should not be exposed to that. And if we ask them to move or move out of our parking space, they get very, very aggressive. When children get out of school, when they come from Washington School, it's hard. They're already there. They're naked. The police can't do a lot. At night, it's very dark, so we need more lighting. I don't want to be disrespectful, but some of them are like very short stature, and we can't even see them at night. All we see are their heels, because yes, their heels are kind of have like reflective lights or something, so we can see them at night, only their heels, but they have even been run over because it's really dark. So we really need to do something. We need to end this prostitution in our streets. We need to call the police or put more lights or stops. Thank you. Sorry? Oh, she saw, I also have pictures if you would like to see.
Sí, solamente nada más puede ser un comentario. Yo creo que este asunto va a continuar. En el futuro, el siguiente junta nos puede comunicar.
Es totalmente diferente.
¿Es otro tema?
It's a different topic, totally.
Desafortunadamente, nada más podemos darte la oportunidad de hablar una vez. Puedes comunicar con nosotros directamente y también puedes mandar un correo electrónico o puedes hacer una llamada directamente a la oficina de la City Manager. Y yo creo que hay miembros del Concilio que también estamos interesados en el asunto que estás hablando, pero por favor, si puedes poner en comunicación con la oficina.
Está bien, gracias. Do you want me to say your comment in English for people that may be on Zoom?
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
Sorry.
It's okay.
I got into Spanish mode.
It's all right, no problem. So unfortunately, every person can just do one comment at a time. But if you have any issues, you can talk to the city manager. You can send them an email or call him, and we will get in touch with you regarding your problem.
Thank you. Next speaker.
I know.
Good evening. Name is Eric Peterson. And the comment about restocking restrooms brings up just about 14 years ago, a new council member suggested repairing the restrooms in Northgate Park, near where I live. There's a problem. There are no restrooms there to repair. Still, Andrew's got new playground equipment for a very heavily used park, but we could use restrooms and to restock and all that and to talk about. And once again, I'll say that the park really should be renamed after the person who was responsible for it being there, Jan Collins. Thank you.
And thank you. Next speaker.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Leo de la Rosa, and man, we got problems here in Salinas. And I've lived here in Salinas for the last 35 years or so. And I said, well, tonight I gotta say something. I don't know how it started, but like I said, I've been here some 37 years, and I've seen it. I mentioned it, not here in City Council, but, police officers, code enforcement, and, but yet still going. And what I'm referring to is, like I said, I don't know how it started, but it's got to be changed. Graffiti. Whoever comes and paints the fences, graffiti, they report them, and then the city comes in and paints them. The problem is, it's a different color. I don't know why, like I said, I don't know how it started. Either the city, paints it back the same color as the fence was, or make the property owner responsible. I mean, it's a circus, fences, different colors. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Hi, my name is Emmanuel Aguilera. I'm from Alisal over there, and I'm pretty sure this was something we're going to be talking about in a bit with the Williams Road part. But something about the roads in our city. I live in some apartments that are right in the corner of intersecting. Sorry, hold on. I've never commented here, so I might be a little bit nervous. I apologize. But I live right near the intersection of two arterial roads, and it's pretty. There's pretty much of a car problem right there, and more of loud cars. See, and I'm pretty sure I'm also pretty into learning road designing, so, and I'm kind of seeing what the problems are there, and especially in Alva Salinas. But see, one thing is that a lot of roads are very straight and very wide, so that just makes people to see those roads as just like a one racetrack, like a one drag racetrack. And so I'm hearing those loud cars very often, just like ripping it through. They're not even both loud and just straight up speeding. So that's where we want contribution to like what some people said about speeding problems and car crashes. Like I live like within a few blocks of me. I live right 3 signs that are dented from the bottom because of car crashes. So. Yeah, so that's why something I really like was the Baranda Road project about the roundabouts, and I'm pretty sure there's also another project that was going to be in Williams Road. So, yeah, pretty sure just redesigning will be really good for all the roads, for road safety and pedestrians. So, yeah, thank you.
And thank you for your comment. Are there any other comments from public? Or any comments online? Go ahead and take those next.
Robin, 2 minutes on Zoom.
Correct.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to take a moment to share my appreciation for our first responders and healthcare workers, which is something I've been meaning to say for quite some time. As a community and as a nation, we've faced some truly challenging times over the past few years, whether it was the global impact of COVID-19 or the struggles we've encountered together as a society. Each of us has carried a unique set of memories and emotions from these difficult experiences. In the face of these challenges, Their unyielding commitment to our well-being has been clear, even when we have sometimes forgotten to fully express our appreciation. Many of them have made the conscious choice to stay here with us in our community, even when the road ahead seemed uncertain. I feel fortunate that we have them serving our community, and I am deeply grateful for everything they've done and continue to do for all of us. Thank you for staying, for serving, and for your continued commitment to our community. As an aside, anyone who may want to learn more about what some of our first responders and healthcare workers endure, the website managingtheghost.org provides insightful testimonials. Thank you.
And if there are no other comments from, okay, here we go.
Juanita Aguilera, 2 minutes.
Hola, buenas tardes, ¿me escuchan?
Sí. Juanita, 2 minutos con su comentario, por favor.
Ok. Buenas tardes a todos. Gracias por darnos el tiempo de poder hacer comentarios. Esta tarde solamente traigo uno que es algo que impacta no solamente a las calles que voy a comentar, pero sí yo creo que a toda la ciudad. Últimamente hemos tenido muchas calles donde no tenemos alumbrado público. Todas las mañanas, antes de las 6 de la mañana, 4 o 5 de la mañana, estoy pasando todo, por ejemplo, la calle Boronda. Hoy en la mañana pude darme el tiempo de contar 35 lámparas que no tenemos con alumbrado público de toda la calle Boronda. Creo que es de suma importancia que tomemos cartas en el asunto, porque esta es solamente una calle que he nombrado, pero he estado tratando de ver más lugares, más calles en donde necesitamos, y creo que realmente ayudaría mucho a todos los temas que hemos escuchado en los comentarios. Entonces, creo que si tenemos una ciudad donde hay mucho alumbrado público, evitamos que existan muchos casos como vandalismo, prostitución, robos a casas. Hemos escuchado con vecinos, amigos, muchos robos, incluso enfrente de sus propias casas por falta de alumbrado público. Entonces creo que sería de suma importancia traer esto como prioridad, no solamente en la calle Boronda, sino precisamente en toda la ciudad, hacer, no sé, un chequeo permanente y que ese chequeo permanente vaya pasando continuamente para que nuestras calles estén en buenas condiciones y podamos andar seguros, tranquilos. Y ahorita que oscurece temprano, pues menos tenemos temor de salir a las calles a caminar, a sacar a nuestras mascotas, a andar en bicicleta por el temor de que no tenemos alumbrado público y las calles son inseguras. Muchas gracias.
I'm sorry, I didn't really hear the first part, what she said. I think she was talking about public lighting. Can I ask her if that's what she was talking about, or did somebody else hear what she was saying? Because the first part was very muffled.
Didn't catch it either.
Okay. Juanita, ¿me escucha?
Sí.
Al principio usted estaba hablando, es que al principio no se escuchó bien, pero al principio usted estaba diciendo de que usted tenía preocupación por el alumbrado, que alcancé a oír que decía que salía a las 4, 5, 6 de la mañana y que era muy oscuro y que se preocupaba por lo que era el alumbrado público.
Correcto, correcto, sí. Yo regularmente salgo al trabajo entre 4 o 5 para entrar a las 6 de la mañana, a tomar el tiempo por el tráfico que en ocasiones hay, y circulando específicamente en la calle que más circulo es la calle Boronda, desde el este hasta North Main. Y realmente me preocupaba porque esta mañana pude contar todas las lámparas en donde hacen falta el alumbrado y conté 35 lámparas que no están con alumbrado público, y sin contar las lámparas que se han caído cuando hemos tenido mucho viento y que nunca fueron nuevamente colocadas en su lugar.
Okay. All right, so good afternoon. My name is Juanita Aguilar, and one of the things that worries me the most is the fact that there is no public lighting on the street, especially on Boronda Street. I have to leave to work around sometimes 4, 5, 6 a.m. in the morning, and it's very, very dark. And this morning, I was able to count that there were 35 public lights that were not working. We also have some public light that have fallen because of the winds that we have been suffering lately. And I think that is something that really puts the community at risk, because if we don't have public lighting, then we can't really be on the streets. We are afraid of going out. We can't even go out and walk our pets, and that increases vandalism. It also increases robbery, and people are even afraid of going out. So I think the city is something that really, it's not only in Boronda, but Boronda is one of the streets that we have to pay more attention to. But really, it is almost all around Salinas. And mostly now that, because of the season it's getting darker when it's earlier.
Thank you. Does that conclude our online comments? Okay. Before we jump into consent agenda, just want to ask our city attorney if he could walk us through California Government Code 84308 regarding the Lavina.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. So Government Code Section 84308 requires the mayor and council members to disclose any campaign contributions over $500 within the preceding 12 months. The disclosure must include the amount contributed and the names of the contributors. Council members, do any of you have any campaign contributions to disclose related to any item on today's agenda? Councilmember Barajas? No. Councilmember Barrera? No. Councilmember Diarigo?
No.
Councilmember De La Rosa?
No.
Councilmember Salazar?
No.
Councilmember Sandoval?
No.
Thank you.
Next on our agenda is our consent calendar, consent agenda. Any council members that would like to pull an item for separate discussion or vote? Councilmember Barajas?
ID number 25-005, the Williams Road Safe Street Corridor Project Grant Acceptance.
Yeah, thank you. 005, 728, and 730.
Thank you, Councilmember Barrera. Are there any others? Councilmember De La Rosa.
Yeah, comment 24703, and a comment in the back on the vibrancy 730. Just comments, quick comments.
Go ahead and start off with Barajas. Oh, any members of the public that would like to have any, you can please step forward to the mic. Thank you.
25007.
Can I clarify?
Sure.
Can you step up to the mic and comment on any item on the agenda, on the consent agenda? So it doesn't have to be, you can comment on your item.
Oh, okay, that's different.
Yeah, we're going to try to change it up a little bit, so.
Okay, so all I wanted to do was bring this to the attention of the council. You get the payment register every council meeting, and this particular bill is for $6 million, and yet we don't know what it's spent on. We have people that are paid to, but there's no itemize as to what it's spent for. And it doesn't say what department. So I don't know how we can be transparent without that. Now, I've talked to finance before, they've talked to me, and I just wanted to bring this up to the new council, that maybe you need to think about looking at this and getting the software that they need to do things right. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone on Zoom?
None on Zoom.
All right, if there are none, then we'll bring it back to the council. Let's go ahead and start off. I'll take this in order. Councilmember Barajas.
So my question for the ID 25-005 was primarily, I know we received some funding from the federal government. With the current the new administration, how likely is it that we could possibly see those funds get clawed back or frozen?
I had a hard time hearing what you said.
No worries. So given that we have a new administration at the federal level, and given that most of these monies are federal monies that we're receiving, what is the possibility or probability of these funds being frozen or clawed back in the near future?
I think I'm going to answer that question.
Okay.
Try to answer that question anyway. I think my best answer is we don't know. There's been a lot of rhetoric, but frankly, we just don't know. So the city does employ some lobbyists that we have directly in DC, and they're monitoring the situation, and they will let us know as soon as they hear anything.
And then do we have any legal recourse to kind of justify keeping those funds, or?
I don't know if the city attorney can address that.
Again, it depends. We haven't seen what the current administration is going to do with respect to these funds, or what the federal regulations will say with respect to these funds. So this is that's certainly on the city manager and my radar. We're watching this and monitoring it, and we can make sure that the council is informed.
And then what's the timeline for commitment of funds for a specific project with this specific grant award?
What's the timeline for the commitment of funds for
okay.
this specific project?
Yes, so right now, we're just in the preliminary design stage of the project. So it's probably going to be a year and a half before we get really involved in the project and actually start thinking about going out to bid.
So about a year and a half before we put it out to bid?
Correct, yes.
And then, so roughly 2 years, 2.5 years till we see the project completed?
Yeah, it would be 18 months to 24 months of construction. Yep.
So if I can add some more clarification, on these types of projects, before we start engaging in any massive commitment of funds, we need to make sure that the funds are actually coming in or in line. We're going to be dealing with every other state and every other city and county that's got these kind of funds. So we'll see how it goes.
That concludes your questions. Councilmember Barrera?
Yes, thank you. Mr. Jacobs, with that said, I know it's my understanding we've been waiting for PG&E for quite some time. And when I say quite some time, several years now. I'm in the understanding the first part of this project on Williams Road was going to be to put all the wiring underground. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct, but that's up in the air at this point in time, mainly because the money for undergrounding has been diverted. Our project is still on the books, but we're a little bit short on the funding. So right now, they're looking at how the money is going to be obligated to the actual projects that are ready to go. And we've been waiting on that information for about a year now. We've talked to PG&E on a regular basis to make sure that undergrounding money is there. But since our project is underfunded, we might not get the money. It might actually go to a project that is in need and is actually under construction right now. It's all part of how they reallocated the undergrounding money for PG&E.
So thank you, sir. So you just mentioned a year and a half. That's if the federal government continues with this funding.
Yeah, this has nothing to do with the federal government. It's all local money, and actually, the rule. I can't remember the actual rule, but part of your utility bill went to a fund that actually funded undergrounding utilities.
Yeah.
2 years ago, that money was put toward undergrounding and making the transmission lines safer, so there's not as many fires with those transmission lines. So then the new money for the undergrounding districts went away, and we just had to rely on what money was in that account.
So this new money, we have about 20 million, is that right?
What's that? Sorry.
$20 million? Is that?
No, it's about $1.5 million in that fund right now. This particular project didn't include the undergrounding portion of that.
So we have what you're speaking of, Councilmember, is Rule 28, funding to PG&E. So that's separate funding, that's separate than the funding that we're getting from the federal government, the Federal Highway Administration. So this like many other projects, there's a mix of funding that's used.
I understand that, and it's for the same project.
Correct.
Mr. Mendez, because there's been a lot of expectation from our residents out there who are, of the 5,000 people that see this program, can you let them know? Because sometimes we put it out there and nothing's happening. So what can the residents expect at this time?
So I think we'll put out some messaging. There's been some discussion on lack of streetlights and some. We are actually having a lot of issues with folks vandalizing and stealing our copper wire and stuff. And so you'll see one light go off, and when you tear it, it's, the whole street will go down. So I think we'll start a couple of things. We're going to put more messaging on that. A couple of the council members have already asked for that. In addition to that, in this project, we'll update the residents kind of where we're at from a timing perspective.
Well, when we're ready, move to approve.
Second.
And moved and seconded, moved by, after coming off the Hartnell board, I want to call him trustee, Council Member Barrera and Council Member Sandoval. Did you have a question? But we do have Council Member De La Rosa, who also has 2 agenda items that she wanted to discuss. Correct. I'm accepting that motion right now in the second.
So then I can make
The floor is yours.
I can make my comments, correct? Okay. I just want to.
If I may, Councilmember, which item are you commenting on? We just want to make sure that we keep track and keep these things in order.
Yeah, I pulled them.
I know. So which one? You pulled 703 and 730.
Right, on the vibrancy plan.
Okay, so are you commenting on 730?
Yes, on the
Okay.
Chavez Park pathway.
Okay, so
So my
703.
comment is thank you to the staff. The path will connect the Circle Drive. And the residents are really happy about that. So that's a quick comment. Then the vibrancy plan, of course, we've been waiting for this to happen. And thank you, Lisa. I'll look forward to working with you. And you heard my comments already about the lights. So thank you very much. Those are my comments.
So there's a motion and a second, but I also want to make sure that we open this up for a public comment on items on the consent agenda. Oh, we did, correct. Thank you.
So just for clarification here, I think what would be helpful for us on the clerk side and also for the general public, if we can just continue to take the comments from the council members that pulled the items, and then we can come back for a motion. If the members that pulled the items want to do a separate motion because they're going to vote, depending on what direction they're going to vote, then we can also take the items individually as a separate vote if that's what the council wishes to do. But I would say just continue with the comments from the council, and then we can take a vote on the consent items. So I think we still have.
That flow works for me.
I think there were still a couple more items that needed to be commented on.
Can you mention the separate items that don't need
Sure.
comments?
So Councilmember De La Rosa already covered on item 703. That's the Cesar Chavez DG Park. Williams Road 005, we received comments from Councilmember Barajas and Councilmember Barrera. Item 720 through 728, the professional services agreement with Kimberly Horn and Associates for Williams Road. If we want to move on to that one, we can. Councilmember Barrera, I think you pulled that one for comment as well.
Are we ready?
Yes.
I get excited when I hear Williams Road, Mr. Jacobs. Can you just share to our residents out there, we had a comment from a gentleman here earlier today that nothing really gets done out in East Salinas de Alisal, but there's a lot of investment that's been going on out there. Can you just share a little bit about what the expectation is here, please?
So this is a Safe Routes to School project through the state. That's basically looking at Williams Road as a high pedestrian injury corridor. So we received $6 million or $4 million. Sorry. Oh, it's not in here. Actually, it's $8 million. Yeah, it's $8 million to improve the safety on Williams Road. And we're using that in conjunction with the federal Safe Streets for All project to come together as one project to make it a safer pedestrian facility. There's a concept on the books right now, but we need to do the outreach and the design to make sure that it works for everybody, including transit and fire. There's been concerns about that, but this is what this contract's for, is to start the design of the project and the outreach for the project as it moves forward.
Thank you. Would really like to make a motion?
We'll proceed with the comments on the next item, and then I think we'll take a motion. Councilmember Barrera, we can take your motion.
Whole motion?
One whole motion when we get to that point. Councilmember Barrera, you also pulled item 730, amendment number 1 to agreement with SWA Group for the Alisal Vibrancy Plan, Streetscape Master Plan.
Yes, thank you. Mr. Mendez, can we share a little bit of what we're doing here?
I think, Mr. Jacobs, can you address item 730, just a quick summary of what's going on?
Yeah. Okay.
I can share.
Show me the money.
I'll take this one.
Thank you.
So this is, you just want an overview what the Streetscape Master Plan is.
Yes, please.
So the Streetscape Master Plan looks at all the commercial corridors in the Alisal. So that is Market, Sanborn, East Alisal, and portions of Williams Road. And it does a study of circulation, but it also then works with the community on the built environment. What do we want this street to look like conceptually to be a safer street for all? And so it looks at the heart, not just the street, the width itself, but it also looks at the softscape. So what are the pedestrian amenities, lighting, landscaping to make it a welcoming environment? So it provides the guidelines and design standards for moving forward into the project phase. So this is kind of like the conceptual that would then move to more formal design and construction drawings.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Councilmember De La Rosa, I believe you also pulled this item.
Well, again, I'll echo what Lisa said. Yeah, we need more lighting and what's gonna happen. And of course, the streets and everything, so, yeah. And I'm really excited about it, and so are the residents and the businesses. That's it.
Mayor Pro Tem Salazar, give it back to you to request a motion.
Let's see, I know that we had one as we were going through this whole process. Just want to double check. Councilmember Barrera,
What's that?
the motion.
Big motion. Motion to approve.
Councilmember Sandoval. You have a motion in a second.
I have a motion and a second to approve consent item 009, 007, 703, 005, 008, 725, 728, and 730.
Second.
I think we already have Councilmember De La Rosa, we already have a motion and a second. I'm just repeating. So,
Rusty people.
motion with the maker, please confirm it's all the consent items.
That's it. It's all.
Thank you. Calling for the vote on the consent agenda. Councilmember Barajas.
Yes.
Councilmember Barrera.
Yes.
Councilmember De Rigo.
Yes.
Councilmember De La Rosa.
Yes.
Councilmember Salazar.
Yes.
And my apologies, Councilmember Sandoval.
Yes.
And Mayor Pro Tem Salazar. Yes.
Yes, again.
Thank you.
I'm allowed 2 votes, yes. How about we move on to council member reports, appointments and future agenda items. I'm going to start off to my left. Councilwoman De La Rosa.
I just wanted to say that probably our first meeting, I addressed the issue on the prostitutes in the Kern Street, Madera area. So I have been actively, aggressively, I think, asking for a meeting, and our city manager is working on that, and staff, just for everyone that's out there that doesn't know about it. Now you know, we've been working on that. And also our police department, our police chief is aggressively working on, working on a plan to hopefully, and I expect to get rid of the prostitutes, okay? We heard the families. I've been talking to Hugo from Casa de Maderas, and we're setting up a meeting, like I just said. So we've been we know the problem and actively trying to find a solution to it. So I will be contacting the women that came and spoke tonight. And so anyways, that's on that. And I have a meeting with the chief this Thursday morning. And now I'm going to go into my comments. Some of us attended that youth summit that our staff put on probably about a week and a half ago on a Saturday. And I have to say thank you very much to Ana Ambriz. Kristen, you were there. I forget the young lady's name that organized it. What was her name, Renee?
Karina.
Yeah, her. Delina? Karina. Yeah, she did an exceptional job. And I was just amazed to walk in there and see so many students, and they represented the whole city of Salinas. So that. And then I attended the Martin Luther King event that was held here at the city. Also, I attended a solid waste authority meeting this past Thursday in Gonzales. I attended an ACE meeting in Chinatown, and get ready for their big festival that they're going to have in April. So we need to support our ACE community. And let's see. I also attended Sunday, the Women's Club put on an event to honor Ruth Andreessen, which this woman was exceptional. What she did, she did a lot of things good things in her community. She loved history. She knew the history of Salinas. And she also sat on that school board for a lot of years, more than, I think they said something like 20 years was it the Monterey County Office of Education she sat on? Probably Councilmember Barrera, when he speaks, maybe he can remember. But she was a woman that was, like I said, the word exceptional. And it was at the museum. So I encourage the public that if you have the opportunity to please visit the museum, and you will see all the history that is there. And not just Salinas, but different cities. And yes, this could be really big for us, for the city, in really supporting the museum. And also I support the Salinas Women's Club. If any of you are interested, please contact them and support them in all the good things that they're doing for our community. Thank you.
Councilmember Dorigo.
Okay. I also attended the Youth Summit, and fabulous event, 240 youth there, very engaged, very excited. They fed them a lot of good food. They played with balloons, which I didn't think that teenagers played with balloons, but they still do. And they looked like they were having a great time. And I really love that we brought all those resources to one location so that these youth had access to resources that are out there in the community. It was so well attended, and there was tons of tabling, and it was a full day of events. I also did the Martin Luther King Walk, which was great. We ended up here with some wonderful speakers, and it was just a really nice way to start out the week, celebrating that legacy. I had my first, what I call Minutes with Margaret, so I met with my district constituents. It was a very small turnout, but we, at least the doors are open, and people know how to access me. So we'll be doing those on a monthly basis, and that was held at the museum next to the train station. And so many people have no idea what's in there, and it's just a little gem. So I encourage everybody to go there and visit it, spend an hour or two. There's so much to see, and it really highlights the history of this beautiful city that we live in. So I encourage that. I went to the Junior Achievement Lunch last Friday, and I was a laureate back in 2007, so it was a long time ago. But got to see some of the great work that's being done by some of our local, our heroes that I really have a lot of respect for. I did meet with Chief Acosta as well. We have an amazing new police chief. I was so impressed with him. He's he's very community-minded, and it's not just about, violence and gangs and that sort of thing. It's about, engaging the community, engaging youth, and taking care of our elderly population. And of course, the unhoused as well. So he's got some really big visions. I think we got really lucky with this guy. He's fantastic. I look forward to working with him in the future. So if you haven't met him yet, make sure you go up to him and introduce yourself. He's terrific. And then the Monterey County Business Council went to their annual luncheon, which was spectacular. And then Gloria and I were supposed to meet with Chispa this morning. We both had to reschedule, but we're going to go out and look at some of their projects as well, just trying to get more acquainted with what's happening in the housing area. And then a few of us are headed down to Los Angeles very early tomorrow for the week to do some city council and mayor training and just kind of come back with some best practices on what's going on in the rest of the state. And hopefully we can bring back some ideas that we can implement here as well. So really looking forward to that professional development opportunity. So thank you to the city for helping fund that for us so that we can get more educated. And that's all I got. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Barajas?
Thank you. So just to start off, I had the opportunity to start joining the County of Monterey's Immigrant Rights Ad Hoc Committee alongside a few of my colleagues on the dais and other city leaders and city department heads. And one of the things that came of that was really bringing to our attention a number of pieces of legislation and important things that, as a city we should be mindful of and consider supporting. And with that, I'd like to request support from my colleagues to request that the city sign on as a supporter for SB 48 on immigration enforcement at school sites. That would prohibit access, sharing information, and law enforcement collaboration in the state of California. The County of Monterey has already signed on to this and submitted a letter of support, and I would appreciate support from my colleagues.
Support that? Yes, of course.
To bring that back. That being said, I'd also like to request support from my colleagues to direct the city attorney and our city lobbyists, both in Sacramento and Washington, to actively look out for legislation and lawsuits that seek to defend and protect the rights of our undocumented residents. Second? Okay. Awesome. Additionally, I had an opportunity to tour the new apartments that passed their final inspection on Constitution Boulevard at the Creek Bridge Village Shopping Center. They're in excellent condition. I'm really excited to see that project fall through. And I actually showed up right at the same time that the inspector did. So I got to tag along into an inspection, which is also an experience in and of itself. And also had a Solid Waste Authority meeting alongside a few of my colleagues here. We were able to elect Councilwoman De La Rosa as alternate vice chair on the executive board. And also highly encourage everyone to visit the railroad station. It's definitely a neat thing that we have here in our community. They're actually open every first Saturday, which if you do the math, that's this Saturday. And they also, for my fellow bookworms out there, have a used book sale there every for Saturday. So I highly recommend you guys do that. They also provide free cookies and coffee if you visit the mayor's house.
Oh,
so if that doesn't sell you, I don't know what will.
There you go.
All right. And lastly, I would like to appoint Mr. Jordan Caballero to the Measure G Oversight Committee. That's all my comments.
Councilmember Barrera?
Yes, thank you. I also went to Creek Bridge. Ms. Brinton, 50 beautiful apartments. Within 7 days, 35 are already rented. They're telling me the most difficult apartments to rent is the 1-bedroom. People are looking for 2-bedroom. And beautiful apartments. So I want to thank Creek Bridge for that, doing that. Also, I want to thank, I went to go see station number 7, fire station number 7. I hear Ms. Kristen Lundquist is the brainchild of that one. Firefighters were giving you credit out there. Man, you know what? When I went to go see that, that takes amazing the way you guys spread that thing out. And that's only, what, maybe 6-7 months, I think. So congratulations on that. I also attended the Youth Summit. Congratulations to the committee. Excellent event. I attended the Montevilla Neighborhood Watch. One thing they didn't tell you, Mr. Mendez, I got a beating but my wife says you keep going, so I'll be there next month. They're beating. But I am glad with the Montevilla Neighborhood Watch that they're involved. They're always here, so I appreciate that. The Salinas Women's Club, I had an event for Miss Ruth, what's her name, Andresen? Awesome human being. I mean, beautiful woman that, I think she lived to be 101, if I'm not mistaken. But it was at the Salinas Welcome Center. If you haven't been there, it's a great place for some good information. Vision Salinas 2040 was great. Ms. Brinton, your staff did a great job. It was a full house. I attended the Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. March. Again, it was great. And I want to thank the Chief of Police, Mr. Carlos Acosta. He went to go see the seniors at the Firehouse Recreation Center, so I really appreciated that. So the week is going great. Thank you.
Councilmember Sandoval.
Thank you. I attended the Transportation Agency meeting. We had a presentation about Highway 68 and some AI adaptive lighting that they're going to be installing. Meanwhile, the roundabouts going to be installed over many years. So I requested that they also look at supporting Baranda Road and seeing how we could partner with them to alleviate some of the traffic there with some adaptive lighting. I attended the Salinas Valley Solid Waste Authority meeting. It was great to see we awarded some waste diversion grants to Dorothy's Kitchen and the Salvation Army to help prevent more food waste. I had the honor of attending the Martin Luther King Remembrance. Dr. John Silva, Chago, and the Interfaith Alliance did a fantastic job. I think almost the entire council attended. I also attended the Amazing Youth Summit. Man, that's exciting. And way to get the kids to engage. I really like the little bingo thing you guys had going. It made everyone want to participate, so great job. So many resources. I had a meeting with Pastor Artis Smith, also about the prostitution. I got to witness the prostitution. I think it was like 12:30 in the afternoon, and the church was giving out food and gifts, and sure enough, the prostitutes were walking by. You know, he presented some options, some solutions, and, you know, I mentioned to him we have things like our mobile command center for the police department, you know, possibly putting that there as a way to divert traffic. I even told him, you know, if there's not something done soon, maybe we can do a GoFundMe for one of those mobile surveillance with lights. I know that doesn't look very good for the district, city attorney, but at the same time, it's been an ongoing problem, and we have to try to find some creative solutions. But I'll let you know if I start the GoFundMe, city attorney. To Mr. Bricker, and I think a lot of residents who have come here over the last 2 years that I've been here, you know, the need for traffic calming across our city, I think it's something that every single district faces. And, you know, it's a lengthy process that is very, very labor intensive for our staff. And I think historically, we're only doing about 2 traffic calming projects a year. And so I'll be supporting the request and asking my colleagues to also support the request to have the Traffic and Transportation Commission review the traffic management plan and see how they can improve it so we can streamline that and make that more efficient for our residents. So I don't know if any... Thank you. I want to say congratulations to Kids Corner. I got a chance to visit their grand opening with Supervisor Alejo and somebody from our Congresswoman's office. Coach Stephanie is doing some amazing stuff with youth. She opened a center up next to Alta, so everyone will know where that's at. I encourage you to go visit and see the amazing youth programs they have going on. Tomorrow, I'll be having a meeting with Mayor Donahue, and we'll be meeting with the management of Northridge Mall to hear what projects they're coming up with. Also, I know we passed rent stabilization and all these ordinances, but I'd request that we have a community meeting to inform residents of their rights. You know, yesterday my daughter came home and shared with me that one of her friends her family's facing eviction. And I asked, well, do they know their rights or what they have? Basically, if they know their rights. And so I think at this point, it'd be a great opportunity for us to notify them of what they are supposed to expect from their landlords and what they could be facing. So I don't know if any of my colleagues would like to support me on that request. Thank you, and join me on that. I'll also be attending the Liga City with a lot of my colleagues. Also, I want to recognize the young gentleman in the back, Emmanuel. He was the first young person I've ever heard say arterial roads. And those things are so important. I knew Eric was going to get excited, and I think he's going to get excited at my next comment. I don't know if you still have a vacancy, Councilmember Barajas, but I think this gentleman would be a great option to appoint to that traffic and transportation. Because if we have young people involved in things like that, man, that passion that he had for roads, and I was like, wow, that's great to have in such a young person. So he's hanging out in case you have a chance to talk to him. Lastly, I want to wish my mother-in-law, who has a heart of gold, happy birthday.
Thank you. Been debating whether or not to make the following comment in English or Spanish. Nomás quiero comentar, and I'm going to ask our interpreter if she can help out with the English translation. Nomás quiero comentar que esta tarde hablé con el consulado de México, Alejandra Bolona, sobre lo que está pasando en los Estados Unidos y toda la preocupación que la gente tiene sobre inmigración aquí en los Estados Unidos. Lo que ella me comentó es que la oficina del consulado de México está disponible a ofrecernos recursos en la forma de hacer unos talleres sobre los derechos que los que están aquí en los Estados Unidos tienen. Este 22 de febrero, en la ciudad de Soledad, van a tener un taller para la gente que está muy preocupados de lo que está pasando aquí en los Estados Unidos. A mí me gusta ver uno también aquí para los residentes de la ciudad de Salinas. También lo que ella me comentó es que la oficina del Consulado de México está disponible para trabajar con la ciudad de Salinas. Hay información que la gente debe de saber, toda la preocupación que está aquí en nuestra comunidad mexicana, latina. Hay derechos que ellos tienen sobre lo que ellos pueden hacer. Hay el Departamento de Protección que está disponible. Esa oficina consiste de abogados que pueden ayudar a la gente. También lo que ella me mencionó es que los que están aquí tienen que tener un plan de su propia familia y que se ponen en contacto de la oficina del Consulado de México. También ella me mencionó que por las citas de Facebook, Instagram y también Twitter, o X, ahora lo conocemos así, ellos también tienen unas cuentas donde están dando información sobre sus derechos. Uno de esos derechos se incluye la notificación al consulado. Eso es en caso que si alguien está detenido por la ICE, el número que ellos pueden hablar es el 408-472-1301. Porque sí hay derechos que unos tienen aquí en este país. Voy a terminar ahí porque también me dio el número de celular, pero ese número no lo voy a compartir a este momento. Pero finalmente, nomás ella quiere que la gente sabe que la oficina del consulado está aquí para ofrecerles recursos, servicios e información en el condado de Monterrey, condado de Santa Cruz, condado de San Benito y Santa Clara. So very quickly, just wanted to mention, I had the opportunity to speak with the Mexican consulate, and I'll let you
Okay, no problem. Yes, so I was in touch with the Mexican consulate, with Alejandra, and we were talking about how worried we were about the situation and everything that is happening regarding immigration. And she mentioned that the Consulate of Mexico is having some workshops where they're explaining and telling people what are the rights that they have in this country. In February 22nd, Soledad is going to have a workshop, and they're going to tell all the people that are here in the United States what are the rights that they have. I would like to have this workshop also in Salinas. They also told me that the Consulate of Mexico is willing to help the city of Salinas, and they're going to explain everything, all the rights that they have. There's one of the rights that they have is and then the protections that they have is to call the consulate. The consulate has also lawyers that can help out the population that are having immigration issues. Another thing that she mentioned is that the family should have a contingency plan. If something happens also, they should know what to do, what their plan is. Also, the Consulate of Mexico, they have some, they use social media like Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, to inform the population about what the rights they have in this country. Also, you have the right to notify the Consulate of Mexico that you have been detained by ICE, and the number you can call to notify them, I would like to make sure I say it right, is 408-472-130. And they're going to explain all the rights that you have, of the people that are living in this country. They have to know what are the resources, and the Consulate of Mexico wants to share these resources with the county of Santa Cruz, Monterey, San Benito, and Santa Clara. So,
Thank you.
Yes.
That'll conclude my report. And with that being said, we will adjourn tonight's meeting at 6:32 p.m.